Well, you're right, Robert. We did China and COVID, and we did Russia and Ukraine, and the possibility of nuclear war, which is way too high right now. So let's bring it back home, as Bob Dylan said, and we'll talk about what's going on in the U.S. Of course, the U.S. is the world's largest economy. The U.S. dollar is the world's largest reserve currency. So what happens here doesn't stay here. And we're heading for a very severe recession. I just want to kind of explain.
Jim Rickard is an influential figure in the world of finance and economics. His predictions have made him one of the most sought-after financial analysts in the world. His insights are often shared on television and in print media, and he has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and CNBC. Rickard's latest vision is that of an imminent severe economic recession, and many are wondering what's next. He has identified various factors that are leading to a global economic downturn and looks at the potential consequences. It's an intriguing look into the world of finance and economics, and it's one that could potentially have a massive impact on our world. Join us as we explore the world of Jim Rickard and try to figure out his predictions and what's next. Welcome to Savvy Economist. In this video, Jim Rickard's analyzes the dynamics of why he believes we're heading into a severe recession. Please watch, like, and share this video. Also, drop your comments and thoughts below. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel for more related content similar to this. We begin with a short clip of Jim Rickard.
We're heading for a very severe recession. I just want to kind of explain briefly the dynamics of that. So the Fed's raising interest rates. We know that they started, so it wasn't that long ago, but March 1st, 2022, the Fed policy rate was zero. It was 0%. Today, it's 4.5%. So that's 4.5% in about 8 or 9 months. People remember Paul Volcker. Oh, Paul Volcker raised interest rates to 20%. Well, he did, but so far Powell hasn't raised them as high. Jay Powell, the chairman of the Fed, hasn't raised them as high, but he's raised them fast. I mean, even when Volcker was working his way to 20%, it took 3 years, from 1979 to 1982. Jay Powell has done this in, like I say, eight or 9 months. So that's a very rapid, very steep path. They started with baby steps, 25 basis points last March, and then 50 basis points following that, but then 4 hikes in a row, 75 basis points each. And the most recent one just a few days ago was 50 basis points, but got us up to 4.5%. So what's going on? So Powell's plan is clear because he's told us 5 times. He's starting to worry that no one's listening, but he gave speeches August 26th in Jackson Hole, September 21st in Washington, D.C., November 2nd, again in Washington, D.C. at an FOMC meeting, November 30th at the Brookings Institution, and again on December 14th at an FOMC meeting in Washington. So that's 5 speeches. And he said the same thing all 5 times. He said inflation is job one. It's not that we don't care, but unemployment is going to go up. We're going to have a recession. He doesn't use the R word, by the way, but it's implicit in everything he says. We are going to have a recession. Unemployment is going up. And too bad. It's kind of too bad because we got to get inflation under control.
In the video clip, Rickard discusses the Federal Reserve's decision to rapidly increase interest rates over the past 8 or 9 months. He believes that this rapid increase in rates is a sign of a potentially severe recession and will lead to increased unemployment. He also mentions that the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jay Powell, has given several speeches stating that inflation is a priority and that unemployment will go up and a recession may occur as a result of efforts to control inflation. However, Rickard notes that Powell has not explicitly used the word recession, but that it is implied in his statements.
According to a November 20th, 22 post by Forbes advisor, many politicians, market professionals, and economists all engaged in a great semantic debate during the summer of 2022 over whether or not the U.S. economy was in a recession.
Based on the post, they revealed that according to the general definition of recession, which says 2 consecutive quarters of negative gross domestic product, GDP, the United States did actually enter a recession in the summer of 2022. However, the post also revealed that the National Bureau of Economic Research, NBER, which is the organization that defines U.S. business cycles, had a different view of the definition. NBER defined a recession as a significant and widespread decline in economic activity that lasts for more than a few months. So, according to this definition, the U.S. were not in a recession during the summer of 2022. Listen to these carefully.
And so the Fed is in search of something that they call the terminal rate. What's the terminal rate? The terminal rate is a rate that's high enough to bring inflation down on its own without further hikes. So it doesn't have to be higher than inflation. It has to be high enough to cause inflation to come down to the Fed's goal of 2% without hiking more. And when they get there to that terminal rate, they'll sit tight. They call it the pause. And the pause could be a year. And Powell said this, again, this is right out of his script, to mid-2024 perhaps, before they actually cut rates. So Powell's in search of the terminal rate. By the way, if you said to me, hey, Jim, what's the terminal rate? I would answer truthfully. I would say, I don't know, but neither does Jay Powell. Jay Powell doesn't know what the terminal rate is. He's kind of saying, we'll know it when we see it, but we're not there yet, and we're going to keep going. And they have what they call the dots, silly name, but the members of the Board of Governors and the Federal Reserve Bank presidents give estimates, or their estimates of unemployment, inflation, growth, and interest rates for the next 3 years, and they put them as dots on a chart. So they call it the dots. And then Wall Street gets the dots. They do a central tendency and regressions and all this stuff. By the way, one of the top Fed insiders, like practically sits in Jay Powell's lap, and has all the way back to Bernanke and Yellen, told me personally, he said, the inside the Fed, they regard the dots as a joke. They're not better than guesses. Their forecasting ability is dismal. You or I would have better forecasts, and they wish they could get out of it, but they don't know how. So that's the truth. But the problem is Wall Street and the financial media and the talking heads on CNBC, they want to talk about the dots, and it does affect market behavior. So even though it's a joke, even though the forecasts are terrible, you have to pay attention because it affects the markets. And if you're affecting the markets, you're on the wrong side, you're going to get run over. So I look at the dots, not because I put weight on them as predictive analytic tools, but because the market pays attention. So we have to pay attention. So the dots say that the terminal rate is going to be approximately 5.1%. They're not going to have a 0.1%. So 5.25 is a good estimate. That 5.25 is your best guess as to what the Fed thinks the terminal rate is, because that's what they said in the dots. So we're 4.5 now. So how do you get from 4.5 to 5.25? Well, it's 3 25 basis point hikes. That would be February 1st. The one after that is March 22nd. And the one after that is early May. I'm not sure the exact, May 3rd or 4th. I think it's May 3rd. So you're going to see more rate hikes, 25 basis points each, February 1st, March 22nd, and May 3rd. That's going to get you to 5.25. At that point, they should say, okay, we're at the terminal rate. We'll sit tight and let inflation come down. So that's what Powell's going to do.
According to Rickard, the Federal Reserve, Fed, is searching for a rate called the terminal rate, which is high enough to bring down inflation without the need for further rate hikes. The terminal rate does not necessarily have to be higher than inflation, but it needs to be high enough to bring down inflation to the Fed's goal of 2% without further rate hikes. Rickard believes that when the Fed reaches the terminal rate, it plans to pause for a period of time, potentially up to 2024, before potentially cutting rates again. He also notes that the Fed uses a system called the dots, in which members of the Board of Governors and Federal Reserve Bank presidents give estimates of unemployment, inflation, growth, and interest rates for the next 3 years, which are plotted on a chart. However, these estimates, or dots, are not highly reliable and are regarded as a joke within the Federal. Despite this, the market pays attention to the dots, so it is important to pay attention to them as well. According to the dots, the terminal rate is expected to be around 5.1%. The Fed plans to continue raising rates until it reaches the terminal rate, potentially resulting in a recession. Listen to these carefully.
Here's what the market says. Okay, so that's the Powell plan. We already know it. The market says, hey, inflation is already coming down. Well, it is. That's actually true. Inflation peaked on a year-over-year basis. Monthly report calculated year-over-year was 9.1% in June, but it's come down to from the high 8s, mid eights, low eights, 7.7, 7.1. Now, 7.1 is still high. Don't get me wrong. Inflation is still high, too high. I buy gas and shop for groceries just like everybody else. So it's still too high, but it has come down from 9.1% to 7.1% in the last 5 months. And so the market says, hey, you did it. You're already there. Inflation is coming down. Why don't you stop? And by the way, you're going to get the memo, maybe in February or sometime soon, you're going to get the message. The economy is going to be slowing down. Inflation is going to be coming down. You're going to hit the pause button early, meaning maybe as early as February. And then you're going to cut rates. This is the famous pivot. Whenever you hear of the Fed pivot, that's when the Fed turns around and starts cutting rates instead of raising them. And that'll be just in time, and growth will slow, but it won't be too bad. And we'll come in for a soft landing. And this is the Goldilocks scenario. So again, typical Wall Street, get the pom-poms out. The Fed's going to cut rates by March, and so buy stocks. That's all Wall Street knows is buy stocks. So that's Wall Street's version. So there's the Powell plan and then Wall Street's version. Here's the reality. There is a chance that we are already at the terminal rate. But the conundrum is inflation coming down because the Fed is still hiking, or is the inflation coming down because they're at the terminal rate? Well, we don't know. It's kind of hard to sort those things out. Powell would say, yeah, it's coming down. I know that, of course, but it's because I'm hiking and I'm going to keep doing it. My view is, no, you actually did it. It's mission accomplished. You just don't know it. You're fighting. You're like the Japanese in the caves fighting 4 years after the end of World War II. I mean, you're still raising rates, and you already got to where you want to go. That means, as usual, they're going to screw it up. They're going to blunder. They're going to go too far, and it's not going to be a mild recession. It's not going to be Goldilocks. In this version, Goldilocks gets eaten by the bears. In other words, you're going to throw this economy into a very deep recession because you're going to go too far, as usual, and you're not going to know it until too late. By the time you realize it's mission accomplished, you will have gone too far, too long. Rates are going to be too high, and it's not going to be a soft landing. It's going to be hard.
In continuation of his analyses, Rickard discusses the Federal Reserve's plan for managing interest rates and inflation. He mentions that the market believes that inflation has already peaked and is coming down. Notwithstanding, he believes that the Federal Reserve may not realize that they have already achieved its goals and may continue to raise interest rates, potentially causing a recession. Rickard opines that the Federal Reserve may pivot and start lowering interest rates in the future. Rickard is skeptical of the market's optimism and warns that the Federal Reserve may make mistakes that lead to a more severe recession. In the world of uncertainty, Rickard has been able to make some educated guesses about what will happen over the coming months and years. His insights are particularly valuable to investors, entrepreneurs, and anyone looking to make an informed decision about their finances. With his decades of experience in the financial sector, Rickard has the knowledge and expertise to make accurate predictions about the future. He has made some remarkable observations about the current economy, and his predictions are sure to be of great interest to anyone looking to make wise decisions about their investments. That's all for today. If you have any questions or contributions in regard to the topic being discussed in the video today, feel free to let us know in the comments section below. Kindly share this video with your family and friends, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more updates. Thanks for watching. Anticipate our next video update.